There's only ever been one thing uniting the COD mob for years, and it hasn't been skill-based matchmaking, AI, or even content creators. There's only been one thing included every so often, slipping past even the most careful community influencers and PR managers. Something so overpowered, it takes down even the best players without leaving a scratch on the wielder.
Oh, Riot Shield! I'm a pussy that use Riot Shield!
The Riot Shield. Where to even begin with you, buddy? Misunderstood? Misused? I mean, what'd they do to you, big guy? The Riot Shield, first introduced in 2009's installment, Modern Warfare 2, sparked controversy from the start. Let me show you why. See that? This guy's supposed to be dead. Some would call this magic, witchcraft even. A shooter game with a thing that not only isn't shooty, but also you can't shooty at directly? I mean, that's just downright heresy. There's a science to Call of Duty's gameplay, a rhythm to the chaos. A player sees red, a player shoots red, we do that for 40 seconds and then we die. When the shield debuted in Modern Warfare 2, it upset the average player with a gun in their hand because their gun no longer did what it was supposed to do. Fair enough. But today, this is where I make my case. You didn't just click on some poor schmuck's deep dive. And in update 1.3.7b, they made the shield slightly longer.
Objection!
This video will not only vindicate my client, the honorable shield player, but also assess the fairness of each game's shield. I may not hit every little detail in every game, whether or not this score streak paired with this perk makes a difference, but on a basic level, we'll look at the facts. What sort of schemes were paired with the Riot Shield, and how effective were these loadouts? On the other end of the spectrum, what sort of counters could be used to take down shield players? These counters won't only be assessed on fairness and ease of use. For instance, how well can it fit into one of 5 or 10 classes? But also, are there enough tools at the disposal of non-shield players to properly counter a Riot Shield player? There's a science here, a science of interaction. For an aspiring game developer eager to balance a shield of their own, this truly is a landmark case in weapon balancing. Shields are used all across the first-person shooter genre, sometimes handheld, sometimes placed, timed, destructible, or even pointy. Why does Call of Duty's influence make a difference in the world of shields? Because when you look at the broader picture, the shield meta changes game to game. They took a crack at this 11 times in multiplayer alone. And no two games are alike. There's different counters, different utilities, different perks, challenges, camos, customizations, and sometimes none at all. There's different interactions and animations. Some shields can take certain hits, some obviously can't. When you make a new game every year, you'd think you'd at least just copy and paste something as simple as hitboxes. But that's just not always the case. So, as I make my case, we should set precedents on what's considered a good enough job of balancing and what obviously isn't. What works well in the grand scheme of things and what robs players, both users and non-users of the shield, of a balanced gameplay experience. The moral grounds for a Riot Shield should be as follows. The Riot Shield should never be meta. For instance, it should never be a bulletproof idea to run a shield.
Well, someone had to do it.
What this means, for instance, running a shield as a secondary should have enough consequences and trade-offs for the players who use it, especially only as a turtle shell in Warzone, core modes, or what have you. The Riot Shield, in addition, should have an array of counters that vary in viability and tactical advantages. Basically, it's a reasonable ask that more than a Semtex or a sticky grenade will be a counter, which is a mainstay in just about every game. Lastly, any Riot Shield strategy should not be unstoppable. Reaction times should be reasonable when throwing lethal equipment or hot swapping weapons. Problem that's plagued this argument of fairness. Player animations will play a big role in this one. In my experience, almost all of the Riot Shield hate comes from things paired with the shield, not the shield itself. With our definitions defined, court is finally in session. The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Let's do this.
The state of this game today is the biggest pain in the butt to get access to classes and equipment. I own this game on Steam. In fact, years ago, I bought a physical copy of Modern Warfare 2 at Target of all places, which is just wild to think about. 20 bucks. It's a game I've played through many times, but mostly on an Xbox 360. The PC copy should do, however. Plus, I'll have an easier time recording it with OBS.
Hold it!
Is what I would have said if I could even get access to custom classes. MW2 servers are vacant, and even if I could get into games, I'd have to grind to get access to most of the kit anyway. In addition, there's no native split screen on PC, and while I do have people to help me record on Steam, even private matches didn't give an everything unlocked sandbox style mode that we take advantage of today. No problem, I'll just go grab my old Xbox from home. No problem, I'll emulate an Xbox 360 instance of Modern Warfare 2 split screen for science. No problem, I'll emulate a PlayStation 3 instance of Modern Warfare 2 split screen for science. Finally. This is good, we got where we wanted to be. I guess it's time to boost.
PM.
This sucks. I don't know if this is going to be worth it in the end. What's nice is the developers decided to at least have a Riot Shield class, one of the only times it's ever been in preset classes. It's strange, the developers decided the Riot Shield was a crucial enough component to the game to be featured in a preset class. The Riot Control class offers a blast shield, a stun grenade, akimbo P2000s, and, of course, whoa mama. Extreme Conditioning, Hardline, and Commando are included as well, a solid choice for shield players. This class is the extent of what I can show today, and it may not be clear why this isn't ideal for showing the whole picture. What we're missing most of all is C4s, the good old sack of potatoes, the old throw and blow. We'll discuss that more in its carbon copy sequel though. Let's get into the shield's 09 behavior. When crouched, the shield creates a near view of the user. Standing up reveals a perfectly pristine set of tootsies to rat-a-tat-tat-tat-at. Controversy strikes, however, when the shield is swapped to the back of the player. This is what keeps the average shield hater up at night. Turtling is what I'm referring it to. I think other people call it that. The explicit use of a Riot Shield as a back shield, using the secondary weapon full time. This is what I and many others label as dishonorable, deplorable, and downright disrespectful. You can no longer be meleeed from behind in this state, in any position. This game does offer at least some deterrence to this playstyle. When a class is using a Riot Shield, a movement penalty is given to the player when spawned. Interestingly, that penalty isn't removed if the same player drops the shield to pick up a different weapon. They will be slower whenever that class is selected. On the COD wiki, they hint that the player model for the Riot Shield classes has beefier armor, so it perhaps insinuates that this effect is tied to the class, but that's just a theory. With earlier Call of Duty games, there's also the topic of idle animations. Modern installments are pretty cut and dry. How you maneuver in the game, what you're looking at, crouching, prone, is how you present yourself to players. The idle animations of this game have you signaling to non-existent teammates, scanning the environment, and ducking when placing equipment. It is difficult to see these animations in-game behind the foggy haze of the shield's glass, so it's hard to get an exact look at it. Animations do come into play, more importantly when throwing equipment. Non-lethal grenades are tossed around the shield, while lethal equipment will have more substantial movement depending on the equipment. More of that will be demonstrated in Modern Warfare 3's section of the video, since these games are, again, nearly identical by Call of Duty standards. The Riot Shield in Modern Warfare 2 takes up a primary slot and can shield bash enemies in 2 slow hits. The shield pairs well with the secondaries offered in this game, namely machine pistols, playing the part of the pocket SMG, and shotguns, which are also positioned in the secondary slot, something we don't see often from COD. Both weapon types synergize extremely well with the shield. One offers high mobility and damage output in mid-ranged environments, and the other can quickly take down targets close by. or even clear rooms and objectives. Both fill their roles without needing an overkill perk, which becomes a mainstay for shotgun shield users in the future. Which, hey, overkill wasn't even present in Modern Warfare 2. I'm happy with that. But then again, that's only because there's 2 solid weapon classes to pick from as secondaries. If shotguns or machine pistols weren't there, I'd still give the lack of overkill a thumbs up. The limitation presented with a setup like this helps to deter low skill and low honor playstyles. Sadly, the lethal that everyone associates with riot shields is the throwing knife, which kills upon contact with any part of the body. The endearing feature of this lethal equipment is its physics. It's got loft and weight to it, and it has the ability to bounce and slide through the environment, leading to some great trickshot kill cams. The throwing knife is at its best in this form. Why do shield players like it? When paired with just the right perks, it's a delete button to anyone standing at a reasonable distance. The animation is so quick that the player on the other end of the throwing knife has a hard time seeing the shield player's shootable little face, little guy. Something that does help balance this is the need for players to hold a button to pick up a throwing knife, whereas new games automatically pick it up if it's in the vicinity, almost too fast. Like, there's no way that you'd be grabbing knives off the ground without looking at them and picking them up in a safe way, especially if they're sharp enough to puncture through combat attire and take down an enemy in, again, any part of their body. That's what spells trouble for balancing and fairness. There needs to be enough time in between the projectile leaving the user and the shield set aside for aiming and release, if not for the sake of balancing. Throwing a knife perfectly in the center of a screen while wielding a slab of ballistic nonsense could make just a bit more sense in the world of physics. Speaking of our beloved slab of ballistic nonsense, the first iteration of the Riot Shield is in fact a Riot Shield, not really a ballistic shield. I've seen very similar models online, some for reasonable prices, some in stock, some purchasable, some delivered straight to my door, some that sit in the corner of my room and fill the same void within me that preteens get when they buy their next Squishmallow or Pikachu plushie.
I want it now!
So then models like my emotional support Riot Shield, Riot Shield. So models like my emotional support Riot Shield are really designed for those at semi-peaceful protests to protect themselves from semi-peaceful items thrown, poked, or tossed at them. This shield would not be able to handle most, if any, rounds. This iteration of the Riot Shield could be using a high-density bulletproof glass, but even then, something like that's only meant to take on some smaller caliber rounds, maybe 1 or 2 larger caliber shots if that. Despite the shortcomings of this model being a little unrealistic, Modern Warfare 2 sets the bar for counters with the humble Semtex, still offering a one-hit kill when stuck to a shield user even today. This is the golden rule, that which will always kill. After that, the next best option is to try and get explosive damage around the enemy. Remember, there's no trophy system present in this game. Players can also find openings on the sides of the shield, or better yet, go hunting for tootsies. The Riot Shield's debut wasn't the best iteration, but what it does well is lay the groundwork for a reasonable countering system for future installments. Some of the highlights of Modern Warfare 2's Riot Shield meta were the use of machine pistols and shotguns in the secondary slot, and a throwing knife that required pickup. The lack of overkill and trophy systems, as well as the movement penalty, are welcome in terms of balancing the shield's viability, although more counters are needed. After all that, given the game's slower movement and limited counters, I deem the Modern Warfare 2 shield as somewhat fair. The shield skips over Black Ops 1 and re-enters the series largely the same and largely the same title, Modern Warfare 3. The shield aesthetics and animations are largely unchanged. However, there are 2 selectable perks offered on the shield, granting faster melee or faster movement speed. For the most part, perks on a Riot Shield get a big thumbs down from me. Only 2 options with no real downsides to either means it makes no sense to not run either perk once unlocked. Just thinking about it for a second, these perks also negate the one needed drawback of running a shield, that being its heaviness. Modern Warfare 3 brings more to the table, however, in terms of equipment. Trophy systems can stop a majority of projectiles coming your way, and that's great, considering explosive damage is still a primary concern of a shield player if it can get around the front of the shield. For instance, the XM25 can be great for lobbing shots behind a shield player. The Riot Shield will tank shots from RPGs and grenade launchers just like the previous game. It is a little bit more misleading in this game though, when the projectile makes contact, and on the shield player's screen, and they will take like a shock sort of thing, showing a light amount of redness around the screen. However, it's not obvious the shield player took any damage. Just to explain real quick why that sucks, it can lead on a player to think that they're doing damage to a shield player when they're actually not. That's bad. The best bet to counter a Riot Shield is still the Semtex. Although with the trophy system existing, it can negate the only true counter, which spells big trouble. If the only true counter is preventable through a tactical piece of equipment that can be dropped at any time, that's bad. That's real bad. Unfortunately, the balancing of this game's shield does get worse. Modern Warfare 3 moved shotguns from the secondary slot to the primary slot, although machine pistols are still an option. But in addition, for the first time, a Riot Shielder can use overkill. Of course, movement penalties would still need to be taken into account, but being able to pair any weapon with the Riot Shield is a change I just still, to this day, cannot get behind. It's infuriating going against a player with the best of both worlds. It's one thing to pick up a weapon off the ground, but to spawn in with a weapon that you're proficient in can be overkill. Oh, I get it now. I myself love goofy combos, probably more than the next guy. But with the class system largely following the same rules game to game, there's just never been enough of a penalty for overkill. There is something to be said about secondaries playing a big enough role to outweigh the need to overkill. Machine pistols can hold their own as SMGs, and it'd be cool to have a set of secondary shotguns offered that have low magazine size and reduced range. As we move to more recent games, we'll see just how those ideas do come to fruition. And just to cover more of my bases, the Riot Shield is offered in survival mode and can either be purchased or picked up off the ground by juggernauts or squad teammates. Purchasing a shield will give you the most durability, and it takes up a weapon slot. After enough damage is accumulated, the shield's face mask will break, and the user will be susceptible to taking hits from the front again. A destructible Riot Shield is a great idea for balancing in multiplayer even. So naturally, the developers never did anything with that idea and still haven't. Again, with Modern Warfare 3 being unbelievably similar to Modern Warfare 2, stop me if you've heard this before, there's not much else to go over. The shield was already a little too well off in 2009, and in 2011's installment, it's significantly better without the addition of new counters. In fact, the only real counter is now counterable itself. The Riot Shield was put in its most versatile state, so much so that it spawned frequent hate posts and iconic gaming moments. This is not the direction the Riot Shield needed to go in, and for that, I'd assess the Modern Warfare 3 Riot Shield as unfair. The Riot Shield, now called the Assault Shield, was hardly viable in this installment, which is just perfect. Other than the name change, this thing looks leagues different from Modern Warfare's iteration. This thing, it's
I'm just so beefy.
The Assault Shield also has its own in-game function of putting it down. Putting it down acts as a deployable cover, a piece of equipment offered as a field upgrade in future installments. Think Ultimates for Call of Duty, but not those Ultimates. This could be a great way to set up shop down a lane, or to show off camos, or even custom emblems. I should add a disclaimer. The right to freedom of speech is protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, established December 15, 1791, as part of the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Meaning, yes, you can even put this on your shield.
Howdy folks, it's me, Colonel Sanders. I've been gone for a while and
Boy, howdy, have things changed.
It's a match made in heaven, being able to drop down a ballistic lawn sign of whatever you want. It's hard to find any customization options so bold these days. There's just something about a tiny square that awakens the artist within us. That or, just cobble together something phallic or racist seems to do the trick on COD. Anyway, the Assault Shield. Big, industrial, in the futuristic year of right now. It's more plausible in its design and capability than 09 and 11's model. First off, this thing does not take impact damage very well. That being RPGs. They will one-shot a Riot Shield player, which hey, that's welcome. But the ultimate counter has to be the explosive tip crossbow. Being able to take down a shield player with extreme accuracy and range as a secondary, and that's a bit too good of a weapon against the shield. Especially considering the option for optics and 6 included rounds in a pump action 3 mag style. But at the end of the day, we do have an assortment of easily accessible counters. The crossbow is even featured in a preset class, but we've also got a long way to go in terms of the shield's viability. Overkill, unfortunately, makes a return. and it is a bit easier than it should be to run Overkill on a class, especially considering the shield. Overkill this time around takes up a wildcard slot instead of a perk slot, meaning with the beloved Pick 10 class selection system, a sidearm with one attachment has the same cost as a Riot Shield Overkill. The Riot Shield is prone to being one of the better options for this slot too, considering the lack of attachments and the passive bonus of, again, turtle power. Despite the low cost, the use of the Riot Shield in the secondary slot didn't have the same allure as in previous games. That's thanks in part to the pistols in this game supporting camos and progression, and overall slapping around the sidearm selection of any other installment I've seen. I mean, shotgun revolver, burst fire, full auto, and 2 utterly solid semi-auto delicacies. How do you even cover all bases with just 5 weapons? With the introduction of the diamond camo, a majority of players were busy getting camos instead of min-maxing their body's hitboxes all the time. Less incentive to use a shield is a very good thing. This thing, at the end of the day, is best seen as a piece of primary equipment. The firearms in a Call of Duty game should always be the main focus. I'd say most people forget that this is the last time there was a shield in a Black Ops multiplayer mode. We will get to Ajax. What sets this game apart from most in the series isn't just the shield, but also the equipment. If you're a shield player, the trophy system should be your best friend at some point. However, in this game, the Black Ops 2 trophy system does its job, and it does it well. If you get in the way of its job, it will not hold back. It does not care if you so much as put down a tactical insertion. It will smite you down with the divine right. The trophy system itself emits a swirling noise almost like a helicopter, and the sound it makes when neutralizing projectiles is similar to that of a shotgun. This could explain why the shots fired by a trophy system are that violent, but the trail left looks more like a sniper rifle shot. I'm guessing that it's programmed to be a short-ranged one at that. I'm kinda on the fence. It makes me wonder if there was a slug shotgun option planned for this game. Either way, the fact that the trophy systems can be that hostile adds an appreciable amount of depth to an otherwise boring equipment. This depth is deepened, considering the Black Hat tactical equipment. Basically a portable flipper zero that can help counter a lethal spamming shield opponent and open them back up to projectiles, where the trophy system will smite them instead. Moving on to the throwing knife, or combat axe as it's rebranded for Black Ops games, the name of the game here is speed, yet again. Paired with the right perks, the player on the other side of the shield has next to no chance of doing anything. The saving grace here is that the trophy system will take out a combat axe, a precedent that is unset for throwing knives. It's kind of a big deal. That should wrap up the bigger changes with Black Ops 2. Surprisingly, again, the one time Treyarch included a shield in multiplayer. Ajax, I swear, sit down, I will get to you. It was balanced by 3 major factors. Multiple different counters were included, there were better options for secondary weapons, and in cases where it was a toss-up on what items countered what, the Riot Shield user was typically at a disadvantage. At this point, I'm sure the ladies and gentlemen of the giraffe are wondering why me, the shield lover, would applaud changes that put the shield players at a disadvantage. As someone who advocates for the use and inclusion of shields in COD games, why would the shield that's more difficult to use be better for the games? A matchup between a shield player and a non-shield player needs to first and foremost feel fair, or at least winnable from either side. If a shield player has an unstoppable strategy, what's left to do other than quit? And we all know that COD players are prone to backing out at the slightest inconvenience. I think it's obvious a seasoned player should have some sort of strategy worked out to deal with a shield player without sacrificing their method of gameplay. That's a tough thing to balance, which is why it's been a hot topic for so long. A player with a shield countering strategy can get the best shield players to switch off, or to no longer choose a shield class. As a seasoned shield veteran myself, it's completely normal to accept defeat after a while and try something else. That's the beauty of having 5 or 10 classes to choose from in-game. Even as a public defender of the ballistic slab, shields only take up 1, maybe 2 of my classes, and most of the time I will use an actual gun. You can tell I was binge watching lockpicking lore right before this. I'm stealing his cadence.
And as you can see, being only 8 inches long, it doesn't seem to have seen much use.
The shield player, on the other hand, should be able to react to, dodge, or counter whatever tricks the enemy player has. The Riot Shield counter can't be so unbelievably easy and simple that it negates skill, which is what the crossbow, with it having plenty of ammo, accuracy, and range, takes on as its role, all the while only taking up a secondary slot. Keep in mind as well, it's also permanently available to all players in the default classes. Go figure. Despite the uphill battle like we previously established, an imbalance that puts the Riot Shield at a disadvantage is much more preferable than the other way around. The crossbow is a bit much, but the speed of the combat axe is too. The interactions with the trophy systems and explosives add some much needed depth to the shield's viability. And to my knowledge, every time a bow or a crossbow is included in a game, those projectiles are never shot down by trophy systems. A crossbow is actually uncounterable for the most part. So I'd say that at least the Assault Shield improved on the concept in ways that the Warfare series couldn't, and sadly won't. I deem the Black Ops 2 Shield more than fair. Ghosts, or as it's known, the Modern Warfare 4 that didn't have the gall to call itself Modern Warfare 4. This game somehow manages to look more dated than Black Ops 2, but I think that just comes down to it looking so similar to Modern Warfare 3. That also could just be me having the wrong graphic settings on PC, but it's whatever, we're not here for that. We're here for this. The Riot Shield in this game looks different. Not nearly as futuristic as Black Ops 2's light bar-clad Cybertruck, but it's also not as bare bones as MW2's 94 Ford Ranger. I'd give it a 2013 Chevy Colorado. It's not a bad design by any means, no customizable emblem, but there are camos to unlock. Good enough. There are 3 attachments to unlock this time, being a built-in scrambler, a built-in portable radar, and a faster melee perk. While I wish that some of the attachments had stat penalties, the balancing situation is a bit better than MW3's selectable perks. The movement speed one from that game was a no-brainer to pick, so at least it didn't return here. I'm not sure how I feel about having portable equipment on a shield, especially considering these 2 equipment items weren't included standalone in the game. These attachments could have also used some tuning as well. Perhaps if the shield took damage in such a way, it would destroy the equipment. Ghosts is largely following in the footsteps of Modern Warfare 3, which isn't all that great. The shield is described as explosive resistant, and the reaction from taking an explosive does insinuate as much, but it's going to take a decent amount of explosive damage applied to the shield to take it down. What else? Rockets won't do much. The trophy system is back to not taking out throwing knives. Throwing knives are automatically recovered by getting close to them, unlike Modern Warfare 3 and 2. We also did find this interesting interaction. If someone throws a knife at your shield while you have throwing knives equipped, you just get an extra one to throw. If the shield player's shield is swapped for a different weapon, the knife is then separated from the shield and is available to pick up. Before that, the original thrower cannot recover it from the enemy shield. I don't know if that's a respect thing or a fear thing.
I'll have to confiscate it.
Go ahead. Take it from me.
For counters, I'd say we're in a worse spot than Black Ops 2, but a better spot than Modern Warfare 3. Because of this stupid thing. A grenade launcher, like the War Machine, that exclusively fires sticky grenades in a 2-round burst. Never in my life have I ever thought, you know what would follow up a calculated grenade shot just perfectly? A second, wasteful, mandatory shot that's near impossible to control where it goes. In this way, the amount of accurate shots is brought down from 6. However, it's clear that the lobbed nature of these projectiles is about what we need for a Riot Shield counter. The accuracy of the grenade launcher projectile diminishes the farther away the player is. This offers just the right balance. Versus the crossbow, most of the time it just has too much range for it to be a one-shot kill against any Riot Shield. It'd be much more understandable if it was a 2-shot kill, especially in its pump action 3-in-a-mag version in Black Ops 2. I don't know whether to call that a magazine or a clip. We all remember the last time someone got that confused. The Dog COD doesn't offer much else beyond that in terms of shield stuff. Secondaries get less support than they should, with no unlockable camos for some reason. Shotguns were a solid option to overkill, since most of them were relatively interesting. The Riot Shield is available in Extinction as an upgrade, similar to the shields in the Zombie series. They can be upgraded and will disintegrate after a certain amount of hits. They surprisingly don't take up a primary slot, which means when running a specialist upgrade, a player can have 2 primaries, a shield, and a secondary. If you're wondering why I don't feel that zombie shields are really relevant to go over in this video, they're a Treyarch thing, and by extension a Black Ops thing. And since Treyarch scrapped the Riot Shield after 2012, Ajax, I swear, you and your bald self will be discussed for 30 seconds. Just relax, bro. There's no real counter discussion to accompany it, and I believe the zombie shields hold no bearing in this case. COD Ghosts, aka Modern Warfare 4, aka Dog COD, just might be a bit closer to fair than Black Ops 2 was, but it does hang on the side of favoring Shield players, which isn't ideal. I deem Ghosts Riot Shield begrudgingly fair and boring. The double jump one. We got a lot going on in this game. Did you know? Did you know the 2014 installment had 3 different shield weapons available in this game? Okay, it's more like 2 different shield weapons available in this game, but we'll get to that. Before that, there's something that's been bothering me about Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare that might not be so obvious. Each game supports a form of vertical movement, that being exo movement in this installment, followed by boost movement featured in Infinite and Black Ops 3. A game that supports this type of movement does not, and should not, have a shield available as a primary. I don't see how this gameplay loop for these 3 installments supports that. It's not a matter of it being a bad choice, the Advanced Warfare shield still stops plenty of bullets. It's just not a good fit for the game. The heavy shield itself is actually very similar to Black Ops 2's assault shield. It can be placed down as deployable cover, for some reason. Again, think about the vertical movement. And there are 3 attachments available: fast melee, a shock that activates on a drop, and a faster drop time. An absolute mixed bag. The heavy shield has some custom weapon variants available from supply drops, as well as camo challenges. The shield is, once again, susceptible to semtexes and getting stuck with the crossbow. Also, why is the crossbow here? We do not know. What else? There's a big, doofy, and slow grenade launcher that appears similar to Ghost's 2-round burst thing, but it only shoots frags. I'm talking unpack-a-punched War Machine frags, which are wimpy at best and detrimental to the wielder otherwise. The icing on the cake is that it's a primary. I'm not sure what they were thinking with this weapon. Explosive damage with launchers and other grenades yields a hit marker and a little bit of flinch, yet it doesn't seem to do any damage. That kinda sucks. The real interesting part in this case is the equipment. All the grenades are provided in one slot, and in the other, a weird assortment of perks and equipment, all creatively prefixed with the word EXO. There's the EXO trophy system. When activated, a Frenchman named John, the D is silent, follows you around swatting down projectiles with a broom. He will not defend you if the shield is facing the same direction the projectile is coming from, because even the French are more respectable than the average shield player. EXO-Ping injects the contents of a 16-ounce tropical mango ghost energy drink straight into your veins, giving you visuals of EXO movement, weapon fire, and tasting colors for a couple hours after that. EXO Hover calls upon the spirit of the wings of sacred dawn, where with just the right class setup, you too can float in the air for 5 seconds. Maybe. EXO Cloak should be good. It makes you go invisible. But the invisibility makes you look like this. It's how the feature looks in the campaign, but it's just not quite as good as it needs to be for multiplayer. I understand most of us were playing on the 360 on like a 720p TV. Even then, man, like, you look like you were lightly dusted in Fruity Pebbles. It just doesn't work. EXO-Stim is actually the first time a healing item in the tactical slot was introduced, which is pretty cool, considering that this is the closest thing the average Stim user has to a father figure. The EXO-Mute device is a high-tech, noise-canceling device emitted from your EXO. You might recognize this ability in the modern titles as EXO Overclock gives a temporary speed boost, but more importantly, it tints the outside of your screen ever so slightly yellow. Now, why do I feel the need to bring these up? I don't know. Well, I do know. It's because these absolutely missed the mark by not being rechargeable abilities. Not to get too sidetracked, I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Each ability operates off of a battery. Some abilities run out very fast. Others will linger for close to 10 to 20 seconds. Some of the abilities have their own activation animations. Others don't. Even if the abilities themselves are a mixed bag, the sad part is they don't recharge whatsoever. That makes them all mostly suck. Some of the abilities just run out too fast. And the only thing a player can do to extend the time is to equip one perk. This perk extends the battery by, in some cases, 1 full second. Going back to the EXO perks, one of the EXO perks is the EXO Shield, which is the other shield in the game, which lasts roughly 4 seconds, 5 with overcharged. Can you imagine how cool it would be to have a deployable shield as tactical equipment? How it could be recharged when not in use, and ticking bullet damage could drain or even power it up. Again, Advanced Warfare wasn't a game that needed a primary shield, but for objective modes that required players to go inside buildings or defend points, having a Riot shield for a couple of seconds, hopefully more than 5 at a time, could have been huge. If not for this game, maybe others. I mean, we're not talking about a dinky shield. You can actually stop bullets and projectiles and melee enemies, the whole 9 yards. But again, like any good idea, the developers left it half-baked and then promptly abandoned it entirely after it was used once. I'll get over it. I just need some time. Apart from exo abilities, we also have access to exo grenades, which are just regular grenades shot out of a Temu Spider-Man web slinger. The throwing knife in this game is susceptible to trophy systems, but the catch is, there's a catch system. You can recall your spike grenade back to you. That's pretty neat. On the way back, it also has the opportunity to take down enemies. Other than that, there's no real equipment, per se. You are the trophy system, the portable radar, and the combat stim. Overall, it's hard to give
Real criticisms, real reviews.
One kind of works, although it does not belong in the game. And the other is a great idea that they didn't do enough with and then just left it to die. To be fair, without too many good counters to the heavy shield and the need for enemy players to reposition and backpedal just to get a good shot, I'd plead unfair. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, for the exo shield, 5 seconds at maximum with no recharge means that this is not viable at all. Considering all you need to counter an exo shield is the patience of a skippable YouTube ad, it's pretty clearly not busted, and so I'd plead unfair for the exo shield in the other way. After Advanced came Blobstress and Le Fournet. Neither had shields per se. Black Ops 3 continued with more iterations of the zombie shield, and Infinite Warfare featured this bull charge specialist ability on one of its characters. Some say it's more of a scrapped iteration of the Riot shield that was reworked into an ultimate where you plow through the map with a shield. I'd motion for this evidence to be dismissed. After those two, it seemed as though 2017's Call of Duty World War II would skip the Riot shield as well. However, to a many surprise, a shield was added in an update nearly 9 months later. See, World War II had divisions that acted like a set of base perks cobbled together like a loadout. The Cavalry Division. Cavalry offered a mandatory Riot shield primary and any other weapon in the game as a secondary, with overkill baked into the class. The overkilled weapon could not be equipped with any attachments. Not bad. Probably our most tame version of overkill. For a shield added this late into the lifespan, it's alright. No customizations and no camo progression. The way the shield is treated in this game as a piece of equipment is a step in the right direction. Overkill being baked in is a bit much, but clearly illustrating to the player that a Riot shield is its own thing is a good way to deter unhonorable behavior. If you're gonna be a Riot shielder, you're gonna be a Riot shielder. Usually I'd have a friend to squad up and test the different counters and animation timings, but I don't know a single soul with this game. Which blows, because there is a lot of love poured into this installment. While trying to set bots with specific classes, I got sidetracked, however. I was dumbfounded. There could be 17 active enemy bots on shipment, so I gave that a try. When they found me with a shield in a corner, they didn't really know what to do, most of the time. I upped the difficulty to veteran, and that's when they started looking around for the shield openings, as well as throwing sticky grenades perfectly at the bottom of my shield. Just seeing the sheer amount of gunfire coming my way, I thought, what would happen if I put on friendly fire? I was not disappointed. I wish I could tell you more about the shield in World War II, maybe possible counters and what have you, but there are more DLC weapons locked than base weapons unlocked, which is sad to see, considering you can't even access them in private matches. That part annoys me, but with weapon contracts, they are somewhat acquirable, one at a time. It's hard to tell what the situation is. For instance, there's a crossbow in this game. Wish I could tell you what it did. The Cavalry update was a nice little thing to add in the last few months of this game's support, and it was nice of them to make it the one weapon out of like 30 that you didn't need to gamble or play hours to unlock. Maybe I did need to unlock it or something, because I have this Halloween skin on my account and I don't remember getting that. A shield player can't really stop sticky grenades, and shield can only be equipped with certain conditions. Overall, I plead World War II's cavalry shield as fair. Ajax. Ajax is an operator in Black Ops 4. He gets a riot shield that's basically incounterable for 25 to 30 seconds, and he can jam a little full auto pistol in the front of the shield to shoot at enemies. Is this the first time in the COD series where we've had a shield that players can shoot while shielding at the same time? Yeah, actually it is. In previous games, namely Modern Warfare 2 and 3, basically every NPC you see with a shield will be shooting at you while having the shield equipped. You though? No, never. As an ultimate, I understand it's difficult to do testing on something like this. However, it's not something I feel we need to reach a verdict. It's clear that being able to shoot while having a shield equipped is unbalanced.
Objection!
Ajax's shield in this game is a specialist ability, so it's designed to be overpowered.
Hold it!
Even still, shooting through an impenetrable hole in the middle of the shield is uncounterable. Mr. YouTube Complainer Man, I will not have you make substantiated claims in my court without sufficient evidence. If you can prove to the court that this shield has at least one counter, I'm prepared to issue a fair verdict. I had no idea the Ace Attorney bit was going to go this far. I have to come up with something to show the judge.
Moving on to the next thing I tested, and this was actually probably the most effective way to take out a fortified Ajax user. This is the Molotov.
Hold it!
That looks like the good stuff. I didn't know you were chill like that. Your Honor, the only thing chill about this bottle is how useful it is at taking down shield players. An improvised incendiary. Dude, I can't stand this word. As a specialist ability, Black Ops 4 Ajax shield gets a fair verdict, I guess. We have finally reached the game that has the gall to call the Riot shield the Riot shield. No assault shield, no exo shield, no heavy shield, no cavalry shield. The third Modern Warfare 1 laid the groundwork for the Warzone adjacent games, where Warzone began to have a significant effect on both titles' balancing. The Riot shield was nerfed here and there, but a good chunk of its integrity stayed, especially for those who played by the book. Modern Warfare 2019's Riot Shield offered no attachments, but did have the full array of camo progression. I'd consider this a plus. Why? What camos do is paint a picture of how the developers envision the player to use the shield. Previous games have done this as well, and here the challenges all have something to do with the shield kills, rather than hot swapping to a busted primary. You can do that if you want, but the camos are created with the MSRP in mind. The manufacturer suggested Riot Shield playstyle. Another good sign for counters is the different types of equipment available. Trophy systems are back, however they're a field upgrade, not in the tactical slot, meaning it's not as easy to plop down one or two of these things at any moment you choose. A good shield player will have to bob and weave their way around the newish assortment of throwables. We got Semtexes, Molotov cocktails, and thermites. These each have their own strengths and weaknesses, but most people go for the thermite. Trophy systems will stop each projectile except the throwing knife, which is still a pain. The Riot Shield can stop a lot of things in this game, which is reasonable, considering how slow the user is. I'm talking rockets, claymores, C4s, even some score streaks.
Oh, watch this here.
Enemy cruise missile.
Ah! In the alley.
Let it also be known the Riot Shield in this game has an inspect animation, a feature that was scrapped in Modern Warfare 2 2022 and Modern Warfare 3 2023. Never before and never after has there ever been an inspect animation for a shield. A pity. There were a handful of weapon blueprints available for the Riot Shield, some for purchase, of course, but also this one, Bulwark, which could be unlocked for free through a set of challenges. I believe the text on the shield reads Special Forces in Russia, but I'm just going off of what my phone says. Another blueprint was daringly called the Cheater's Bane. In Warzone 1.0, there was a notorious amount of cheaters, and of course, what else can we do to stop auto-aim and wall hacks than having a bulwark at the ready? On the weapon side of counters, we really do have a perfect array. Apart from the underbarrel grenade launchers, we now have the option of different grenade types shot out from said launcher. The underbarrel thermite is a great way for those looking for a backup plan that takes up a measly attachment slot. If it's a dedicated anti-shield class you're after, the crossbow comes in as a primary and was added in an update and can be equipped with an explosive tip or a thermite tip. However, Problem: the crossbow is a DLC weapon, which means that it has a special challenge to unlock as opposed to ranking up and being patient. Use a marksman rifle with a reflex optic attachment and get 5 kills in 25 different matches. That's not too difficult, but it does mean for those that want to unlock this perfect riot shield counter, they're stuck playing a very specific way for 25 matches. Far too tedious for the sake of being tedious. However, for the most part across every COD game, the crossbow projectiles are not countered by a trophy system. So, at any distance, a player can take out a shield no problem. Because of the extreme utility of this weapon, it's only fair that it's a primary, and it's not all that much work to get overkill going on a class to mitigate that. With 2019, we should also keep in mind just how spot on these animations are from first person to third person perspectives. I brought in someone to confirm some things, and I guess things aren't quite as I remember. Thermite weapons like the Riot AMR and the crossbow do not stick to shields. And the explosive rounds coming from a Riot and the WWII don't do damage to the shield either. Furthermore, with EOD, a shield player can survive one explosive tip crossbow shot from the enemy. That's not the worst, really, but this does mean that this version of the crossbow is at its biggest disadvantage in this title. Primary slot, hard to earn, and lackluster tips. It adds up when I think about it, why I enjoyed the shield so much in Modern Warfare. It took just the right amount of skill in my opinion, and every animation and detail was just so polished in this game. It led to the discovery of my favorite strategy. Operation Doorbell. Search and destroy. Vacant. B-side bomb site. I was getting overrun. They'd all pile in that doorway. Outgunned, outmatched. I needed something more. The healthy human mind would have simply picked up their weapon and taken point somewhere else. The healthy human mind wouldn't trade in a good working weapon for a shield and a couple of remote explosives. But then again,
The healthy human mind doesn't wake up in the morning thinking this is its last day on Earth. But I think that's a luxury, not a curse. To know you're close to the end is a kind of freedom. Good time to take inventory out of our minds on a suicide mission. But the sand and rocks here, stained with thousands of years of warfare, they will remember us for this.
I mean, blame it on watching hours of Vanoss videos or plain boredom. But what I found is an annoying, cheesy way to protect the bomb site and search and destroy.
Get to Bravo. Enemy bomb planted.
I understand it comes off as petty and unfair, but it would only take an engineer or sitrep perk to see the explosives, and EOD would help in cases where I don't double up, but I do tend to double up. Even a nade would have blown these up, and it did back in the day. For every time this strategy does work, there's about 5 times it doesn't. So contrary to what you might think, I only use riot shields about 30% of the time in Call of Duty, much less in recent installments. Before we move on, I think we should address the last few shield playstyles that were a pain to go against. Of course, overkilled SMGs and ARs were rough, but this game also had old Stumpy. 7, 2, 5.
It's down to you.
Love that for you,
That's
King.
the suspected cheater. One more behind as well.
Wow.
Oh!
Oh my gosh! Oh, you usually shut up.
725. A number combination that lives in our nightmares. Unbelievably high mobility and consistent damage output meant once a shield player got close, it was all over. Once anyone had this shotgun, up close, sometimes even far away, this thing...
Shotguns.
You know what I mean? Like, if a shotgun wasn't your style, we also had the bongo men. Fast-moving melee weapon players that could get away with a lot more by turtling around. Dead silence meant that the chances of getting cali-sticked by an enemy was slim, but never zero. Given the usability of the Riot Shield as well as many great options that pair with it, shield players were eating good. To counter, the equipment is well balanced against the shield player too. Different lethal grenades, crossbows, the underbarrel launchers, and while some weapons should have done more against shields, there's enough of an ecosystem here to call it good. I deem Modern Warfare's Riot Shield as fair.
We've got a job to do.
Nope, you remember that right. Cold War did not have a shield. Just thought I'd keep you on your toes.
Whether we wanted it or not.
This is a unique situation because out of all the games we're looking at today, Vanguard is the one game where I don't know what the shield situation is. In fact, this is my first time booting it up. There is nothing going on with this game. The shield looks plain, basically the cavalry shield from World War II. Camo challenges are to get kills while no crossbow. There's a trophy system for some inane reason. I don't know, it's just, I feel like each game has built upon the Riot shield in some way, and this game does nothing with it. By extension, since there's not a whole lot to do with the shield, most are probably using it to hot swap. You can never turtle too much, I suppose. No great counters, no great strategies, nothing all that special. I deem the Vanguard Riot shield as boring and unfair. Ladies and gentlemen, the stove has been turned on! As we approach the end of this case, I ask that the court pays attention to this game in particular. What Modern Warfare 2 did for the Riot shield is bring about the 3-hit system, as opposed to 2 hits. The shield will melee faster while doing less damage. I'd argue this is better for the community, as it speeds up animations and lowers the chances of getting stuck in the motions. Modern Warfare 2's shield is more plain looking than 2019's, but it has a bit more character than others shown here today. It was designed to be decked out in camos and stickers. No attachments this time around. The shield animations are better balanced than Modern Warfare 2019, I'd personally say. The shield is put away or pushed to the side more often when using equipment. It's still there, just not quite as front-facing. Where the shield's meta is adjusted is in its counters. The crossbow returned in an update, and either thermite or explosive bolts can stick to the shield, however only explosive bolts will kill. There's also drill charges, which work like Semtex's but have a shorter fuse time. These are admittedly funnier to use. Underbarrel grenade launchers also have a drill charge option to accompany. That wraps up most of the new counters. And I'm sure there might be a few more, but the Riot shield can take a lot of explosive damage, especially with EOD. It's a good system, and it would have stayed that way had it been left untouched. No! Playing Modern Warfare 3 on release felt good. Relaxed. Safe even. The new weapons were stronger options for sure, but the shield held its own for a little while. If it wasn't for weapon kits, we wouldn't be in the current mess of this meta. Weapon kits and additional weapons threw off the meta weekly, even outside of this shield case. Let's go in depth real quick. The Jack Purifier is an underbarrel flamethrower with a ridiculous amount of fuel that can magically go through a Riot shield.
Yeah, it's like toasting a Pop-Tart.
We got the Jack Limb Ripper. Once again, it finds its way through a Riot shield as an underbarrel chainsaw, with even harder lock-on than the melees on a Riot shield. These two kits aren't weapons, they're underbarrel attachments. And we're not talking difficult to use like an underbarrel thermite or drill charge. The chainsaw is of unlimited use, and the flamethrower can be fired for 15 seconds straight. That doesn't sound like a lot, but this weapon can be fired longer than most guns in the game. How about 4 secondaries added through updates? The sword has an animation-based takedown that will cut through a Riot shield every time. An actual sword with pseudo finisher moves. The Jack Thumper 656 upgrades the RGL of 80, an already decent little grenade launcher, and adds ammunition options like drill charges and sticky grenades. Mind you, both still one-shot even with EOD. How about a new combat bow? This one can fire explosive shots that will one-shot without EOD as well. Not to mention the crazy range and mobility, again keeping in mind that the crossbow, when added to Modern Warfare 3, does not one-shot with EOD, and that's a primary. Let's add another option. The Stormender was an EMP rifle that took down drones and electronics from a distance. But then Activision pretty quickly figured out that nobody uses drones anymore, so how about we make it a one-shot shotgun thing? Just make it kill through the shield, even if they're like remotely in the vicinity. Also give it a charge time of like, I don't know, half a second and let the user hold it down indefinitely. To be fair, every option listed needed to be unlocked through challenges or requirements. But what stood out by listing all of these options, none of them are primary weapons. Each option listed is an attachment or a secondary. And therein lies the problem. Technically, Modern Warfare 3 has no Riot shield. And by the end of the update cycle, it never should have been present. Too good counters. For the sake of balancing, they're all too good. The two melee weapons, the sword and the saw, both encourage a shield player to hot swap to something with more range, which is fine, but then you're inviting the shield player to hot swap to something broken and low honor, maybe a throwing knife or the Jack Decimators, or maybe one of those high capacity SMG kits. The flamethrower killed so quick upon release it was nerfed, but even now it can kill a whole team of 6 handily with its 300 ammo count. The bow and the grenade launcher also have the same issue of giving a player too many chances to hit their target. What I mean by that is the reason a Semtex makes for a good counter is that most of the time, a player only has access to 1 or 2, and there's a lot riding on the grenade making contact with the shield's body. If a grenade misses, most of the time, that allows the shield player to make their move. Furthermore, the slow and steady crouch movement that Riot shields are designed for barely works as is in the game. Paired with permanent dead silence, the best way to counter a silent Usain Bolt running around is to run around quietly hoping to find someone to shoot at yourself. It's shocking to find someone that doesn't run dead silence in Modern Warfare 3. A shield feels only at its most viable in modes with a heavy emphasis on defense in this game. And even then, I don't know. Looking at the Riot Shield from 2019, 2022, and 2023 has made me realize despite how similar these games are, key differences like movement speed, time to kill, weapon balancing, and dead silence make them all so different. 2019 was a good shield game, 2022 wasn't half bad, but 2023, Modern Warfare 3 was a landmark case in terrible weapon balancing. Like, not even thinking about the shield, it was just awful. I've actually made more thoughts on this in another video, but the strategy of drip feeding overpowered weapons weekly isn't all that cute after the 10th time. The verdict of Modern Warfare 3 is undeniably unfair, especially when the dust settled after the support ended for this title. Guilty. I mean, that should wrap up the long and short of it. In most cases, the shield was unfair, and in cases where it was approaching fairness, it was never perfect. Not to mention, we're also talking about my personal, imperfect, biased definition of fair. But then that begs the question, what is fair? What would a fair version of the shield look like in Call of Duty? Throughout the case, it's become obvious that some installments don't need a shield. That's a tough pill to swallow, but certain gameplay styles are not conducive to the shield lifestyle. From there, I think it's about time we incorporate destructibility in some way, shape, or form. When Counter-Strike added a shield to their newer installments, they opted for a destructible shield, only available in certain modes. Mode-specific weaponry won't be coming to Call of Duty, I'm pretty certain of that. And that's fine, but for COD to realize that certain modes and maps are better suited for different weapon types could mean that they could learn to balance and incorporate these weapons better across different terrains and objectives. A destructible shield is good. And the Black Ops 2 Direct Impact Susceptible Assault Shield combines realism, balancing, and of course, comedy. I'd be curious about using FMJ, a long time and mostly unused and misunderstood perk that comes into play. Maybe it can break a shield window after a certain amount of hits. Speaking of perks, this may be the least or most controversial change I'll propose in this video. Get rid of Overkill. It's cute, it opens up the sandbox, but realistically, it's only going to make good players better. And having limits to a player's class setup makes for an authentic game experience. Returning back to players a small amount of predictability. For shield and non-shield players, the trade-off of having overkill has never been as intense as it needed to be. I'm ready to die on that hill before I'd force my shield opinions on any player. But please, I would love to hear from all of you still watching the video at this point to make sure I'm not in an echo chamber. Is overkill worth including in the games? I love funny combinations of weapons, but it's clear for every one person doing that, there's plenty of other people doubling up on overpowered weapons. In terms of counters, underbarrel thermites and drill charges are awesome. Keep them one-shotting even with EOD. They are the perfect underbarrel counter. The crossbow? Part of me is tired of it being a Call of Duty staple, but that's neither here or there. If the crossbow is going to be present in a Call of Duty game, I think it should be in the primary slot. And without EOD, it should be a one-shot to shield players. With EOD, 2 shots. My reasoning is the range is just too much for a shield player to do anything against. If they have the know-how to put on EOD, they'd get an opportunity to make a break for it or swap weapons, and get in close before another shot takes them down. Flamethrower, I'd happily take it over the Storm Ender's energy rifle thing, but bring the ammo count down to like 150 or 100, and it's a deal. If the chainsaw is staying 2, I think it needs its own peel system, but in addition, it should also kill quicker than the flamethrower, which hey, it already does. And the sword? I think animation-based melee weapons aren't a step in the right direction for counters. Right now, we have the old water noose jump and growl technique of peeking over the shield to get a good slash in. I used to hate that move, but it makes it a toss-up of who wins a melee battle, which is significantly more interesting than I brought the right thing to this fight so I win. If we ever get a futuristic COD again, a deployable shield like an exo shield had room for improvement, but I'm not sure if we'll ever get something like that again. If we do, it'd still be a toss-up on whether or not a rechargeable deployable shield is a good idea on paper and not in practice. I hate to say it, but we're reaching a lot of dead ends here. I don't think we'll ever reach a positive public opinion of my client. There will always be some sort of imbalance, even when the shield is unbelievably countered and so easy to take out. I've seen shield players throughout the years. It's clear there's high honor ways to use them and low honor ways to use them. But then again, why blame the player? Do I really think any of us have the authority to tell other players how they should play? The audacity to tell players what guns to use and what not to? Sometimes we feel the urge to say, you're a loser, you're running this. You're a sweaty nerd, you're running this SMG. The problem is not with them. The problem starts with
Developers.
And problem is a bit of a strong word. Maybe they've designed it that way on purpose. Maybe the game we played today is exactly how they envisioned it. But then again, I think we have solid proof the game they've designed will always be slightly twisted and altered from intention to actuality. A bit of a long shot, but for evidence I have this. Did you know this was in the game? An M4 50 cal conversion kit? Looks pretty cool. Looks like it took time and effort to make available. I have never seen a single soul run this kit. Examples of other kits and weapons I'm sure are also coming to mind for you viewers. Do you think the people who designed it, balanced it, and released it expected its usage to peak at less than 1%? What I mean by all this is, like any game, you can design it however you want. The player will always put that design to the test. It's how we get build videos, speedruns, and glitch showcases. Forget options. Show me the best option and I'll stick with that, thank you very much. The Riot Shield has built a negative reputation over the years from people using cheesy tactics and minimizing counterability. Even if I, the honest, God-fearing shield player, wants to play in a way that creates a challenge for me and the enemy, there will be turtles, bongo boys, ninja knifers, shotgun wielders, and SMG swappers. If Call of Duty continues in the way it has over the last decade, I don't see a positive future for the Riot Shield. Overkill would need to be done away with. The 2009 idea carried over to 10 subsequent games, simply put, shouldn't go on like this. The defense rests their case. I'll let you guys be the judge. Am I crazy? I must be. I made a video this long. I mean, the script's at like, what, 48 pages now? Yeah, that's about all I got. In the comments, leave your verdict. Is the Riot Shield player guilty or not guilty? Should we keep using Riot Shields? Should they be available in Black Ops 6? How about Warzone? Do we still need a hard stop cheat shield? It's not quite as black and white as I thought it was going to be, but I'm glad I made this video nonetheless. I think the Riot Shield needed at least one public defender.